Happy Sunday night and welcome to another episode, another meeting of the Park Adventurers Club. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys, as always, for being with us. We appreciate you. It's been a very busy week in Disney and parks news, so we're going to have a lot to share with you tonight. So please, if you haven't already, you know the drill. Subscribe. We love to have new people to follow us. I know a lot of people are like, we've been looking for you guys. We've been looking for you. We're right here. The more that subscribe, the more that will find us. And also, don't forget to give our video a like, as it also will help those other park adventurers to find us in our new club. Who's on the panel tonight? That's always the fun question to ask. Here they are, starting with Shannon.
Yes, this is a very moving moment, and I'd wish they'd move it to Animation Courtyard.
Wish they'd move it to... Okay, that's... I get what you're... Because of the Muppets, yes. All right, and Mr. Rob Bazemore. What's going on, fella?
That is so brilliant. That's great. It is a sad day to talk about the loss of the Muppets, but more things are happening. It's still a great time.
Yeah, we're gonna go through that quickly. But first of all, again, if you haven't been with us before, we are the Park Adventurers Club. We're running this like a meeting. I got a gavel, and so if anybody gets unruly, we're gonna make sure to bring things to order. And what kind of order? Of course, again, as I've shared before, it's Rob's rules of order. They're my rules. I feel free to make them up again as I go along. But any meeting has an agenda, and so we have a packed agenda for tonight for the pack. You see what I did there? It's not the Pittsburgh joke, but it's still good. Reading of the minutes. These are the things that happened in the past week that we want to catch you guys up on. So the Muppets closed. There's also the coaster that they've kind of said again, this is coming. Then Disneyland made some announcements that were pretty big about the new East End parking garage entrance. The where Pandora is has been confirmed, the same as Coco. And then HHN went on sale. The Halloween Horror Nights are on sale now for tickets, and they made the first big house announcement. We'll talk about that. EPCOT Geo82, we've been talking about that one a lot. That one's officially open, but there's a new popcorn bucket, and we do like our plastics. And then there's rumor that there might be a Duffy Meet and Greet coming for all the APs out there, all the pass holders that are out there. We are pass holders here, so we're excited about that. Let's talk first, though, as we've said, the Muppets, they're gone. You mentioned that, Rob, they're closed. They are no more. I know that you kind of are a West Coast guy, so you've been kind of without Muppets for longer. You've had to travel east to get the Muppets. The Muppet Vision, I like the way they handled the last show with the bands and people who were there early, because I think everybody wanted to do the last show, and you saw some of it firsthand. I mean, I'm sure you followed it on social and everywhere else. Rob, you tell me your thoughts on what you saw.
You know what? It's interesting, and this is very different. It seems like Disney understands that that this is challenging for a lot of their guests, right? And it seems like they actually put time and energy into putting together a proper farewell. Very different than, say, any other recent ride that I can think of. And it's exciting to see. At the same time, I think they came out and they talked about all the changes happening in the rest of the in Cars Land, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think the trend I'm seeing is that Disney understands that change is hard for people, and they're taking some steps to kind of help mitigate some of the sadness.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? There was a lot of fond farewell going on with this. Steve Whitmire was there and talking to people. The voice of Kermit in the past. Now and then Jim Henson's daughter was the last one to go into that final show before they closed the door. It's a little weird though, because this is the final show for the public, but not the final show, because on June 10th, which I love that they're doing this, they're closing that courtyard for cast members to have one final goodbye on their own, which is great. I mean, I love that they are giving them that time, because they spent all day making sure this was right for everyone else. Now Disney is making that right for the rest of the cast members. I love that they're doing that. But they had this video about the new Muppet experience, which, as we know, the Muppets are moving down to take over the Rock and Roller Coaster, and we don't know yet what that's going to look like, but we've been told that we have the rest of the year to enjoy the Rock and Roller Coaster. And then the voice of Kermit on there seemed so off that most people were going, please, for the love of God, rehire Steve. We don't know what happened, but if you could just fix it, bring him back. It sounded like, it was not quite our Kermit. What are all your thoughts, Shannon? I know you're busting to share some stuff.
On just Muppets in general?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm devastated as everyone else is. This is going to be one of those shows where those quotes are going to stick in my head for the rest of my life. It's similar to Ellen's energy adventure. I can't tell you how many times I walk around my house and I say the ding dang, the piggy bank. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to have Statler and Waldorf forever in my hearts, as well as all the characters. It was just an incredible show. You know, I think everyone's going to be waiting with bated breath on what Disney is doing, how they're saying they're quote unquote preserving it. I was talking to my parents the other night and I said, it sounds like it may come to Disney Plus. And my mom's like, who cares? Where are the bubbles? You know, where's the other stuff that's going on? So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of people have said, look, that villain show is probably just a testing grounds for the new Villains Land. Maybe it'll only last a little while. It just happens to be right next door to where they're moving the Muppets. Maybe that's their plan. If so, they haven't said it. I feel like it would have quashed a lot of fears if they did. But the other thing that they've mentioned, or that has been mentioned, but mostly just by Stephanie on our in our little club, is the idea of moving this to the Magic Eye Theater, which is located right next to Journey into Imagination and EPCOT, because that is already a 4D theater. It used to have Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, Captain EO, and it could be a great place to put that. I did want to give a shout out to our pack who was on site for this one, because they dropped this picture in the chat and I was like, yes, this is awesome. So our Park Adventurers Club was represented out there at the closing of Muppet Vision. But again, they gave everybody bracelets, bands to be the final ones, the 500 plus who got to witness it for the last time. And as you said, it could relive on Disney Plus. It could come back somewhere else. But we enjoyed it while it was there. And, we'll hope. We'll be very optimistic that as Monstropolis is evolving, that it will be something worthy of replacing our Muppets. But obviously, we all have a lot of doubt about that. Let's go on to the next topic in our on our agenda, which is that Disney announced. All right. So I have a lot of thoughts about this. I think Rob does too. Maybe, I hope. Disneyland announced not only where the Coco attraction was going to go, which is weird that they finally announced that. They haven't built anything yet. It's not going to close anything, but they're like, here's where it's going to be. It's going to be over by between Pixar Pier and the Paradise Gardens. Which makes sense because they keep having Coco celebrations over at Paradise Gardens. I think that kind of makes a good fit. Then they said Pandora is coming to the back of Hollywoodland, which we all thought was the case anyway. So they've confirmed that part of it. And then they're doing this Eastern Gateway thing. So, Rob, I don't know how familiar you are with the whole saga of the Eastern Gateway.
Are you talking about the pedestrian bridge and all the fighting they had with the local businesses because people weren't going to get off the bridge and they were going to lose their foot traffic?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So this was actually, let's go back a little bit. Hold on a second. Sorry. This was the Eastern Gateway right here that they had proposed originally, which was a new transportation entrance. So they were going to take the area in front of the Esplanade right off of Harbor Boulevard, and they bought this new hotel, or this hotel that was there in 2015. They were going to knock it down on the other side of Harbor Boulevard. They were going to knock that down. It was going to be this entrance way for everybody to park behind those hotels and be able to have a parking garage and buses and rideshare, and everything would drop there. And then they would walk you over Harbor Boulevard. And all the local businesses says, no. We moved here to mooch off of you. You can't stop us from mooching off of you. That's not fair. I have a problem with that. But that's only because I'm on Disney's side in that particular case. But I get it that their businesses would probably suffer greatly if they did that. So then they were like, okay, 2016, that didn't work out. 2017, they're like, we're going to build something on the other side of this. And they actually made a presentation to do something that was going to build a new hotel over on the other side of where Disneyland Hotel is. So this new Disneyland resort that was going to be over right in downtown Disney by the monorail. They actually shut down the movie theater. They shut down a rainforest and all this other stuff. And then they got denied to build that hotel, and that was 2017. And so now we're back on the east side, and they've got this new presentation that they released that they're going to go ahead and build that. But the difference here is that there's going to be street access still. So before they were, and I know it's a lot. Sorry, I'm hyped up about this one. So before they were going to just have the security check in on the other side with like they do now, check you before you go through the garage. Or come out of the garage and check you first for security. Now they're going to have to still do the security before you get to the Esplanade. So again, Rob, I don't know if you took a look at this, if you have specific thoughts about this or where Coco's going or where Avatar Land is going, but speak.
Yeah, it's actually a big deal. It would have been great. I agree with you. It would have been great if you could have gone through all your security screening back at the garage, and just walked straight into the parks. I'm interested to see what it's going to happen. I mean, how many exits are they going to have to have off that workspace? Clearly, it was an issue they negotiated with City Council and the businesses. And I think it will be great because walking through there on the ground, there's homelessness that's in that area, and there's a lot of people soliciting you in that area too. So I like the idea of this walkway. I wish it was direct. You didn't have to go through security when you get there, but I definitely think it's a step in the right direction.
And, here's a little bit of what they had in mind anyway. This is the old structure, not the new one, but it's basically the same as they're going to build the new structure. You can see where the orange is behind the hotels, and then they'll have the pass-through where they've purchased the other hotel, and then that'll take you over to where the Esplanade was. And then where the Esplanade is where they're going to expand some space to be able to build Pandora. I know you've only been a few times, Shannon, but are you excited about any of this stuff, or you're like I Uber everywhere, I don't really care?
Yeah, the parking situation doesn't matter to me because I always stay in a hotel where I can walk there. What does excite me is the Coco ride, because you're finally giving us a brand new attraction that's not replacing something else, and that is family friendly, that everyone can ride. At least it looks like that. It looks like it's a boat ride similar to many of the boat rides we have in Walt Disney World. Pandora, that just pisses me off to no end. It seems like it's going to be different. Well, I mean, the Batuu, I've never been to Batuu in Disneyland because what is the purpose? It is a carbon copy of what's in Disney World. Now, this is obviously different, looks different, the concept art to Pandora in Animal Kingdom, but I still like one Avatar is enough. I hate the movie. I think Joe Rohde did chef's kiss in Animal Kingdom. Like, let's leave that there. There's no reason for that. And you're taking away a family-friendly ride, Monsters, Inc., which is very sad.
Yeah. Well, but again, the same thing that we've heard about Rock and Roller Coaster, we've heard about Muppets. You have till the end of the year. So basically, everyone needs to come to a Disney park in 2025 if you want to ride Dinosaur, if you want to ride the Monsters, Inc., and if you want to ride the Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith. All of that stuff has to happen immediately. I find this so weird, and I was thinking about this, and it blew my mind. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? No, you're not ready, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. So the Na'vi are kicking Mike and Sully out of DCA. So they're going to Hollywood Studios, and they're kicking the Muppets out of their place. And the Muppets have to go down the street to go to kick Aerosmith out of their place. Where does Aerosmith go?
They get one foot in the grave.
The retirement home. They're all in the retirement home now, Rob.
Isn't that weird, though? I was like following that path. I mean, it's like, work with me on this one. I feel like I needed my Charlie Day, murder board behind me going, oh my gosh, I'm trying to figure this out. But no.
It is brilliant, though. Let's blame the Na'vi. Don't blame Mike and Sully. We love them. I feel like they're getting a bad rap in this.
I mean, yes, we absolutely have found that Mike and Sully are getting a bad rap in this. There was a guy out there trolling. Did you guys see that post? He was trolling people who were out there for Muppets by dressing up as Randall. Here's a picture of it right here. Hang on a second. So this guy, Disney Dan Becker, he put on this Randall and this Monsters University thing, and he shows up out there, and yeah, He said in his post that everybody was yelling "boo" at him, which he took as "boo's" going to be on the new door coaster, so they are chanting for the new door coaster, and yeah, that was pretty funny.
I
All
don't know.
right, let's move on. Go ahead, Rob.
One more thing, Rob. I think Pandora is, and I don't know who could possibly disagree with this, but Pandora is one of the greatest new lands that Disney's put into place in a very long time. If I am, a local at Disneyland, I'm super excited to get that there. And a lot of locals do nights or in Disneyland at night after work, and there's very few places that are less spectacular than.
But is that
Pandora
Joe Rody?
In the evening time, and it's in a park that doesn't have to close super early because of all the animals, right? You can actually get Pandora until close. Again, it's a great ride, and it's on my understanding it's not going to be a simple clone. So hopefully they can implement some new technologies that have been created since they've done this, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
All right. Well, Rob, let me ask you this because you seem to be an expert. First of all, my wife hates the IP of Pandora, but she loves the land. And I feel like a lot of people kind of get that way, too. It's like, hey, you want to watch Avatar 2? She has no interest. You want to go walk through Pandora? Yeah, I could use a Night Blossom, so it's one of those weird situations there. But when I think of that land, though, they're going to have to do something about the monorail, right? Because the monorail goes right over top of Hollywood. And so when you have that there's nothing's going to break that immersion of being on Pandora more than the Mickey-wrapped monorail pulling through there at all hours of the day. So I don't know how they adjust for that. I guess they either have to move the monorail track, which means the monorail has to go down forever, or they're going to need to make some real changes in the way that you perceive that area. It's all indoors.
I can't imagine that they can re-permit and build that monorail in that area again. I'm sure if they take it down, it's gone. But honestly, if you think about Pandora, obviously not Mickey wrapped, but I could see a monorail being on Pandora, taking the workers back and forth from sites. It's a kind of a futuristic, form of transportation. It's not that much of a distraction. Of course, we may know, and certainly if they wrap it with, a Donald Duck wrap, maybe that's a little bit distraction. But otherwise, it's a futuristic form of transportation.
Mickey's fine, just no Donald. Is that where you're going with that? Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine.
You can make Mickey be blue or something, and put him in a mech.
But again, maybe they do something where it's a tunnel, or maybe something that will hide that. But I feel like they've got to have considered that because it goes right over top of where we're thinking they're going to be building this new thing, and they've just called it an experience. We don't know much past that. Speaking of things we don't know much, go ahead one more time.
One of the greatest things at the holiday time is the Santa mech at Pandora. That thing is awesome. Disneyland deserves to have that.
That was really important, Rob. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. We could not have moved on without that one. What I was going to say was, speaking of this Avatar experience that we don't know exactly what it is yet, we also have Halloween Horror Nights are coming soon. And I know the two of you are not huge Horror Nights fans. I was indoctrinated in 2019 and have not looked back. But Universal does an amazing job with this, and I wish that Disney would do something similar with Hollywood Studios and all of the new horror IP that they have. It feels like it's a given, but maybe somebody wrote a gentleman's agreement on the back of a napkin once that said, look, we're never going to do X. You guys can never do anything like Hollywood Horror Nights. Deal. And that's the thing. Anyway, they do a great job of it, and they've rumored that there's a Five Nights at Freddy's experience coming. Now, no one said house. No one said Scare Zone. No one said specifically what it is. That's coming soon, I'm sure. But they've talked about that a lot. But the one thing that we do know is Halloween Horror Nights tickets are on sale now, and that they've officially announced Fallout for Halloween Horror Nights. I'm very excited about this. I'm an IP sucker when it comes to these things. The Ghostbusters house was amazing. The Stranger Things house was one of my favorites. They did Last of Us 2 years ago, and it was based on the game and not on the show. This one clearly looks like there's Walton and the whole crew from Fallout. So this definitely looks like it's going to be straight from the Emmy-nominated TV series. Rob, I know you're not a big Horror Nights fan, but did you watch the Fallout series on Amazon?
I did, and it's not that I'm not a Horror Nights fan. I just have never been. Honestly, I haven't. When I'm in Orlando, I'm typically distorting all of my time over to Disney World. Now things are changing up a little bit, and I'm getting ready to. Now that there's no Magic Express, I rent a car every time I go. This next trip, I'm planning a trip to Epic, so I may figure out a way to get into Hollywood Horror Nights. I have lots of friends who go regularly, and they say it's amazing. So I just may make it this next year.
I think you should. I think everybody should. Maybe I was gonna say I think everybody should go once, but I'm very convinced my wife would absolutely 100% hate it. So we never ask her to go, and she never wants to go. Everything else she's on board with, but not Halloween Horror Nights. I just think there's something about it that's a little strange, and I've never liked traditional haunted houses. So this one is really just more for the spectacle of what Universal does, and it blows my mind that they put this together. They have it for a season, and then they demolish it and do something else later. So, Shannon, tell me, like, in a fight, obviously between Mickey's Not So Scary and HHN, you're going Mickey's Not So Scary.
I cannot even fathom the idea of even spending a penny to scare myself. I think there is something wrong with you if you are spending money to scare. Like, everyday life raises my blood pressure. Why the heck am I going to go to this event? Like, I truly do not understand it. I will be with the softies at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party shamelessly.
Okay. Well, I mean, I respect your decision to do so. So, yeah, I mean, again, I wouldn't have thought that either until I got to do the Halloween Horror Nights, and I was just like, this is awesome. So. We'll see. But you know what? Rob and I were talking ahead of time, and he's like, don't you really have to have like VIP or something to make sure that you can get through all the houses? It is crazy. It depends on when you're there, but VIP, there are all kind. You know what, Rob? Not Disney. Universal's going to take your money as quickly as Disney will, and they're happy to serve you many options that will help you to pass the line, whether it's the express pass or the special experience the first night, or the open public RIP tour or private RIP tour. And if you decide to go on a private RIP tour, you just let us know, and we're happy to help you spend your money. Let's talk about spending money too. Is Geo 82. So everybody got in on to Geo 82 this past week. It was June 4th was the opening date. We had, obviously last week we showed a lot of pictures of the inside that had been shown by people who had media passes that got to get in. But everybody that I saw, the one thing that they had as the takeaway, Shannon, was it was expensive. Like, even the mocktails are $17. Now, I know you're going soon to Florida. Is this still something that you're like, I still need to get in there? I don't care how much the mocktails are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not going to be a place that I go to every time. And I think that kind of justifies the price, in my opinion. The thing that I do find a little weird is I'm going to be rolling in there sweaty in my park clothes, and it doesn't seem to match the vibe of this higher end lounge with expensive cocktails. But it's Disney, right? So rules are off the table sometimes. Don't judge me if you see me there sweating.
Rob, you were like, last time we talked about this, you were like, yes, please be talking about everything that's negative about this so that I get my seat when I go.
Yeah, so I have actually have 2 reservations for in July to go, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I will tell you that the food, I looked at the food, and it's probably not my thing, but it's just like the ambiance, the space, the attention to detail they have on the cocktails seems really quite amazing. I couldn't get into to a fireworks show, but I do have I think it's a 5:00 reservation. I'm sorry.
You couldn't get in?
I couldn't see a reservation if there was one there. I'll go back and look.
The very first day that this dropped, everybody booked everything they could, and since then it's been pretty booked, except for the fact that I looked at it and it was like fireworks. They were like, yeah, as many as you want, because it's $180 a person. And so I, at the time I went in and looked at it, you could go and you could get any day of the week that you want. And so maybe that's changed now that, you know, more people have been through it, maybe seen what a fireworks viewing experience would be. I know that I've, again, seen some negative reviews of the fireworks experience, either because of the food or because of the view or whatever, but that should definitely guarantee you to get in if you're going to pay $180 a person. But you're looking and you can't get in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Saturday. The day I have my reservation is a Saturday night. So gotcha. maybe that's why. My travel days, I'm tacking on to another trip that I have during the week, so it's going to be a weekend, and gotcha. I couldn't get in. So, but I am excited to go check it out. The design looks great. I love all the nods, the materials that they used. It seems like there's a great story to it, and I'm very much looking forward to experiencing it.
That's awesome. This next thing that is part of that is that they have a popcorn bucket that they released the same day that is a Spaceship Earth Mickey Mouse ear popcorn bucket. And I have a love-hate relationship with this particular one. Number one is normally the Mickey balloon ears or whatever, but this is the whole Spaceship Earth aesthetic, so I'm down for it. But then this guy really turns me off of it, so I'm conflicted with that. It's like, again, there's such a cringy moment with this. They played the Spaceship Earth. He's pretending that he is one of the Spaceship Earth animatronics, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, you laughed a little bit, Shannon. Are you not a fan? The popcorn bucket or him? Like, which one are we missing?
I'm definitely not a fan of him. The popcorn bucket is cute, but I feel like people were going crazy over it for nothing. I don't know. It's not a must-have for me.
Well, if I did not ask somebody to secure this one for me, but if I show up there and they still have it, I will get it and be mocked for it, I'm sure. But it's fine. I don't know. Again, something about that pattern with Spaceship Earth just takes me back to being a kid and seeing the big golf ball for the first time, and I get excited. The final thing I wanted to talk about is that there is rumor about a new Duffy or a new meet and greet coming to Germany. Now, nobody has actually used the word Duffy, but we're going to find out like this week. I think it's actually tomorrow that this starts. Scott Gustin on Twitter showed this thing that said that there was all my friends are famous, and it said new VIP pass holder days greeting is coming to Der Teddy Bar in the Germany Pavilion at EPCOT. Now, it says in the VIP character greeting wordage here, it says, due to the possible high demand, please arrive early for an opportunity to join the queue. Rob, does that not scream Duffy, or am I wrong on this one?
Yeah, I think it does. And I'm excited to see Duffy. I saw Duffy for the first time a few months ago when I was at Alani. And it's just a cool character, right? It's not a common one. You know, most of us will never make it over to Japan. So to get a chance to experience it in the U.S. park is cool.
Yeah. Shannon, same. It looks like Duffy.
Yeah, and I love Duffy, but I hope this means they're going to bring Duffy back more into the U.S. I know he didn't really take off the first time around, but who knows? Maybe we'll get a Duffy resurgence. That would be a thing.
A Duffy Renaissance, is that what we're looking for here? Yeah, for sure. All right, well that I'm gonna go ahead and close old business and open up new business at this point. We are talking tonight about something that crossed my mind when they made this big announcement early. It may have been Monday, it may have been right after we did our little show last Sunday, but they made a huge announcement about the closing of the rivers of America. And honestly, back and forth between, like, you know, approvals and permits and things like this, some part of me, I know it's unrealistic, but I mean, some part of me thought maybe they cancel this thing. Maybe they don't do it. Maybe we leave it the way it is. And I feel like there are going to be some hot takes between these two, so I'm definitely want to tee this up and then let them go at it. But I was at D23 last year when beautiful Josh Tomorrow came out and he said, here's all the stuff that's coming. And we were like, yes, yeah, yeah. And then the next week it was like, but you're losing Rivers of America, but you're losing, you're losing the Muppets, you're losing Dinosaur, you're losing all this other stuff. So they were really excited and talking about it. And they used the words expansion so much. And it's like, none of this is expansion. The only thing that counts as expansion is really, I think, the door coaster, because it's sort of off property. Everything else, or, beyond the walls of what exists, everything else is replacing something. Something else has to go away or die for this thing to come up. And so I think the sentiment, especially in our pack, has been, if you can build something better, if you can take what was there and make me something better, then we're excited about that. But that's really in relationship to things like Indiana Jones replacing Dinosaur, I feel like, or Zootopia replacing It's Tough to Be a Bug, or even Monstropolis replacing Muppet Vision. Right now, this is a bigger deal to me, because you're not just talking about, is what's going to be there going to be better than what was there before, but there's an aesthetic and a classic sort of vibe to the fact that the Rivers of America is there. One of the things I want to talk about, because I am super old, is that back in the day, there used to be not 2 attractions, but 4 attractions on the Rivers of America at Walt Disney World. That's right, Shannon. 4 attractions were there. And so on this map, you can see, and I've barely highlighted them with circles, is the canoes, and then this is on the left, the canoes, and then the rafts, and then on the right, there's Liberty Boat. The Liberty Square has the boat, and then at the top were the keel boats. So, that's something that I was like, okay, there used to be more here. So maybe there was possibly more reason that I liked the Rivers of America. And maybe part of me even was like, why are there so many boats? Like, here's the keel boats. Sorry. Now I'm just in some kind of a horrible loop here. So let me go back to this. And then we'll go back to the discussion. But honestly, to me, they announced the closings of the river, and I think a lot of people were upset about that. And the people in Disneyland were like, "Oh, let's see them come for my river." Like, they're not going to ever do that. We talked last week about what's untouchable. Is there anything that is untouchable when it comes to attractions? Clearly, that is not the case here, and this is going away. Now, all the other things we talked about, monsters and the Muppets taking over the roller coaster and Dinosaur, we've been given the entire year to get rid of, or to say our goodbyes. The Muppets, we actually had several months, but for this one, I don't know that there's really, they gave us a month. And then they were like, okay, we're going to celebrate America on July 4th with a big party. And then I've seen some blogs and other people say, then you're getting rid of Americana 2 days later. So again, the riverboats are going away. The vibe of the Rivers of America is going away, and and Tom Sawyer's Island, which my wife says good riddance, because she's an educator and feels like this is an insurance nightmare waiting to happen, and that they should finally get rid of this. So I'm going to go to you first, Rob, and let's not talk about what's replacing it yet, because that also was announced, and we're going to talk about that. Let's just talk about the rivers themselves. Should we be upset? Should we be furious, or should we just get over ourselves?
Yeah. So it is really pretty. It is very calming. It's great to walk by and take a look at. And, if Disney was in a scenario where the parks were overcrowded and they could get away with putting, I don't know, how many acres is it? 10, 15 acres. They could have 10 or 15 acres dedicated to just something that looks pretty, then it should definitely stay. But the reality is, I would guess that less than 1% of park guests actually utilize Tom Sawyer Island or even ride the boat. Last time I went over to Tom Sawyer Island, I'm sure you're familiar with the fort that has the underground. You go down underground. It was covered with cobwebs, and these aren't like special effects cobwebs. These are cobwebs from spiders, because no one ever goes down there or uses the space. And unfortunately, with as many people as enjoy Magic Kingdom, they just can't have that much space and that much prime real estate within the park go to waste, and just be there because it's pretty.
Okay, so you're just saying that the real estate's too valuable to have pretty area to it. Okay.
Yeah. If the only purpose is to be pretty, It's just not. Again, it's not, and it's not consuming guests. It can't just be pretty.
Yeah. Okay. Shannon?
So I was originally not a fan of this change because everyone was making it seem like the river itself was going away. But correct me if I'm wrong, the concept art, and they do say that the water is remaining around like Frontierland, right? Like from Mansion kind of to Big Thunder, if I'm looking at that correctly. And to me, that makes me pretty happy. Um, I the one thing I'm going to say that I'm going to miss the most is the whistle from the boat, and I would have missed the water. But if it's staying there, then I'm not upset. I'm the same. I am with your wife, Rob. I think Tom Sawyer Island is terrible. I hate it. I am not sad to see it go.
Okay, so here, let's take a look at that map. So this is the
Yeah.
the second part of this. This is what they've added. This is what they released. So we're going to see Piston Peak is the name of this area. So it's not a it's so weird because they're not really calling it a Cars Land. It's a new area to Frontierland right now. But they're calling it Piston Peak, and then you've got the waterways that are there, and there are going to be geysers and footpaths and other things. And we know that the attraction is going to take up a lot of this area. And this concept art's a little bit different, like you said, Shannon. It really kind of shows more water and things than we saw the first time around. So, I agree with you that like that was one of the things I was pretty upset about was this water area going away, because I feel like in a place as hot as Orlando, you should have water features are supposed to cool off the area. That's supposed to be a thing. I don't know science, but I'm going to assume it's correct. And then on top of that, we would like shade, which I don't see a ton more shade in this area. But the other thing that I find funny or interesting about this is that they've named this after Piston Peak National Park. So this whole thing's supposed to have a national park vibe to it, but they've named it after Piston Peak from everybody's favorite movie, Planes, Fire, and Rescue. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So Planes is supposed to be inspired by the world of Cars, but they purposely, when they released it, said this is not Cars. It was done by Disney. Actually, I think the Toon Disney company, under John Lasseter's leadership, they made Planes, which is they're not Cars, they're Planes. Even though there are cars in there that look just like the cars from Cars, it's not Cars, it's Planes. So that happened, and then there was Planes and Dane Cook. So obviously, maybe we've got an opportunity to get Dane Cook back in the mix here for voices if they bring Dusty back in. But that was the first movie. But we're not based on the first movie. We're based on the second movie in this world famous, huge blockbuster franchise. I feel like they were flipping through and they were like, do we have anything that has a park in it? Well, we did that one movie and it had a national park in it, and they're like, well, that's great, and it's Cars themed, we should totally do that. Do we have anything like a park ranger? We do have a park ranger. We should totally make a car that's like this park ranger. And so the park ranger's name is J. Autobahn Woodlore. And so the Cars is J Auto AUTO instead of AUDO. It's completely different. I find this kind of cute. I mean, it's kind of neat that they went back and they created that. So he's going to be one of the animatronics in the queue for this attraction, and it's part of the story. But because this is not the world of Cars, it kind of makes me question if everything we saw before has been changed, because in the old concept art, Lightning and Mater were going to wait for us at the finish line. And so, and I feel like that with closing Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, they took that animatronic and they're like, hey, we got a place to put this later now that we're doing this. Maybe that's not the case. So as far as the rest of this goes, Shannon, are you on board with what you're seeing here then?
100%. I have a lot of confidence given Disney's recent track record that they are going to pull this off the way that they need to pull this off. I think it's going to be beautiful. I am a little hesitant of the shade. Like, are there a lot of air conditioned spots? I'm not seeing a whole lot of buildings there. But I think it's going to be beautiful. And I think they were very smart about the theming of the Rocky Mountain area. I can see how it ties into the surrounding land. So I am really looking forward to this, and I'm really optimistic.
Okay. Rob, you can comment on that, but I have another question for you, which is it looks like something we thought was going to happen was maybe this might take over a little bit of Liberty Square. It looks like, based on the concept art, Liberty Square stays intact how it is, including, for some reason, I would love to know, I think it's supposed to be like a ranger information station or something, why they're keeping the riverboat queue. But, I mean, they kept the keelboat queue forever after they took the keelboats out. So, I mean, Liberty Square, the rest of this, you on board?
So first of all, Shannon's absolutely right. It's great that they control the sight lines. That was a big piece. I think this is a unique scenario in which Disney very clearly listened to everyone whining and complaining about what was happening. People were very vocal about water, and now there's what did the PR person say? There's more waterfalls than they can even count. So it's clear they took the time to listen to some of the largest complaints, which around again, around it making sense to be where it's at, making sure there's a flow, making sure the sight lines don't impact the others. They even went as far as to talk about what they were doing to make sure that there wasn't sound pollution into the other land. So someone took the time to actually listen to customer and to guests what their biggest complaints with, and they very clearly adopted or adapted their plans to take those into account. I think it's going to be a great land. I think it's going to consume a lot of guests. It's going to add a lot of desperately needed capacity to the park. And again, I think it's kind of a win-win. Now, I'm still a believer that their long-term goal is to make substantial changes to Frontierland. Maybe not completely eliminate it, but I think there's still quite a bit in Frontierland that isn't used or isn't relatable to the audience that they have, that guests don't necessarily care about. And again, highly visible, prime real estate in the park that people aren't using. So I do think I believe that their long-term vision is to make changes there. But this is kind of a slow evolution, that they're not trying to do everything at one time. Because again, for a few reasons, disrupting of customer satisfaction, and you just can't take that much capacity out of the parks all at one time. So I think this is a very smart transition for Disney here. And again, it's so good to hear them see them actually listen to the guests that are complaining about the changes.
Well, you talked about taking like things out of action. I don't remember exactly how you put that, but this is going to be the world's biggest eyesore for at least 2-3 years as they redo this thing inside an open active park. Obviously, it looks like they're going to try to start the Villains Land construction at the same time while a lot of this stuff is shut down. One of the things that they've said, Shannon, is that they're going to shut down the train, but not completely. That's what they did in Disneyland when they made Batuu. They shut the whole thing down completely. And they're like, you know what? Maybe it'll just be a shuttle back and forth between Main Street and Storybook Circus. So they're going to take it back and forth, and they're going to make some seats that are backwards. I can't imagine if you didn't know about the backwards seats, getting in at Main Street, sitting down, facing forward, and then just start going back and not knowing that was a thing you were doing. But they're keeping it open-ish. Are you excited about that? Is there any problems with that?
Yeah, I mean, how many years was it closed for? You remember when that happened recently? And that was very, very painful for me, that you just could not go on the train at all. So, I mean, it's a bummer that you can't do the Grand Circle tour, but I'm fine that it's functioning in some fashion. It's definitely going to be weird though, and I think there's going to be some fights over the seats that are facing the right way, especially for folks who get motion sickness.
Yeah. Rob, are you excited about this?
Yeah, I am. Again, I think back to even Tron, right? At Magic Kingdom, the train was out of commission for so long, and again, I think they heard loud and clear. So they could have very easily just shut it down, and they made the decision to take steps to at least allow it to be used in some part, and then they anticipated the problems with motion sickness, which again, that's odd that they did. I do like what they do at Disneyland, where they have some of the seats like sideways. That may even make sense where you're facing in and out. That might be a solution. But again, listening to your guests, and I don't know if they're listening to their guests now because there's more competition. They feel like they have to, but something has clearly changed, and they're actually listening to us.
Rob.
You're mute.
Sorry, I looked it up. It was because I was clacking. I looked it up. It looks like it was closed for 4 years, from December 3rd, 2018 to December 23rd, 2022. It's had other closures, but that was this long closure as they were doing things. And again, the one at Disneyland was closed for a long period of time while they were shortening the rivers of America. They took up the rafts, and everything was closed because of that. You couldn't do Fantasmic, you couldn't do all these other things as they were shortening it to build Batuu. But it is nice that they're not going to shut it down completely, and there will still be that experience. The ones in Disneyland are turned sideways so that you can see the dioramas when you're riding through, which is a very cool concept. And you're right, if they're going to do this and redo the seats anyway, I guess it's easier for them to unbolt, pick them up, turn them around, and put them back down. Maybe, I don't know, but they're saying they're going to turn some of them backwards so that they can have that experience. So, as we come to wrap up this particular topic, I think that, and I want to pose this question to both of you, and I'll start with you, Rob, is I feel like inside the Disney sphere, our community, we're very fast to whine, complain about these things that we feel like they're taking pieces of our childhood and our nostalgia, and they're messing with it. And that's one of the things that makes us love Disney more than Six Flags, more than all of these other things that are out there, because there's some bit of culture to it that we assume It's a Small World will always be there, that Pirates will always be there, Jungle Cruise, all those kind of things. And so it's hard sometimes when you're this close to it and you love it this much for you to kind of step back and say, hey, you know what? It's going to be okay. It's not going to be bad. In this particular case, though, I feel like there have been some valid arguments for what we started this conversation with about it's going to be more crowded in a way because they're going to push those attractions closer to the pathways, because it's going to be branching out a bit. The things will be more narrow. So part of me looks at it that way and says, wait a minute, you're gonna clog up this beautiful thing. When I come over the top of the falls from Tiana's Bayou Adventure and look across, it's going to look like garbage for the next 2 to 3 years. But after that, is it going to be that beautiful sight of the castle and the waterways that I'd seen before? No, but will it be something else? I hope they're keeping that in mind. So again, the question here, or the point I think I'm asking is it, are we going to be okay? Are we just whining because we are Disney fanatics? Because I think most of the people outside of the Disney bubble look at this and go, new Cars stuff, where do I sign up?
So I think it's both. It's yes to both. What did the illustrious Bob Iger say? That Disney has fans that are so passionate that some people get really upset when they move a trash can 10 feet, right? So there will always be those people where, because maybe it's nostalgia or the way they grew up or they remember it, any change is going to be unacceptable, and this is going to be the audience. And oftentimes that audience is a very loud audience, right? They let their displeasure be known very much. But I do think that Disney is taking the time and energy to let us know that they're putting a lot of thought and they're very intentional in these decisions that are being made to make the park better. Will there still be people who are upset? Of course there will be. But I think if you look at the long-term needs of Disney parks, specifically in Magic Kingdom, they have to add more capacity. They have to stay relevant to future audiences. And those are the steps that leadership are taking to make that be the case. Will there be some short-term pain? Absolutely. But in the long term, they have to make these changes if they're gonna compete in this space.
Yeah, Shannon.
Can you restate the question? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Basically, no, that's fine. It's fine. Basically, I was asking if we, and I think Rob answered this very well. If the question is like, are we whining a little bit about it too much because of our nostalgia and because of it
Sure.
meaning so much to us? And I feel like you come from a little bit of a different place because Rob and I are, well, I'm going to go ahead and say old. But I mean, I feel like you come from a different place on this. So like, yeah, right. Do you feel like that you're excited to see this? Are you sad to see the other thing go? Is like how is that Disney conflict happening within you?
There's definitely a sadness, but the nostalgia for me is that whistle. You could hear that whistle from even outside the park, right? So that is going to be really sad for me. But when I was a kid, I remember my parents taking us on Tom Sawyer Island, and I was terrified of those caves, and I never wanted to go to Tom Sawyer Island ever again. So that for me, like that is the anti nostalgia, right? I'm like, good. I just want to see that go. But I I haven't been super excited for something in a long time at the Disney parks. A lot of this stuff hasn't really appealed to me, but this one does, and I think they're going to do really well with it. So I think it's going to be good.
Okay. I think that works. Let me share a little bit about from our pack, our people who hang out with us on our Discord, the Park Adventurers Club, our other adventurers who are not represented here. Jay Ware said, "I don't care if they replace something as long as the replacement is better than the original, but lately they haven't met that mark for me." So, I hope that they're going to, some of the comments we've heard before, like Toy Story Land, they shortchanged what we saw in the original concept art. Some of the other things that we've seen, they've shortchanged us. Sometimes they deliver exactly, but that's definitely one of those things that has been an issue. He also mentioned, Jay was also in chat, was mentioning the fact that this is, could be one of those attractions that's closed in the rain, which there seem to be more and more of those these days, because I don't think it's going to be what we saw in all of the test footage of them going on over actual dirt. It's Florida. I don't think you can do that. But, and I think that was one of the things everybody's like, no, it's really a dirt track. And it's like, I think what they were showing you was like how a go-kart handles twists and turns so that they could test it, so they could make whatever this is. It's going to be on a track. It's going to be a formed ground, I'm sure. William in our chat said, I'm past the furious stage, because the question was, should Disney fans be furious? He said, I'm at the I don't care, and that's the nice way of putting it, stage. I dropped my Disney AP, switched to the Universal, and I'm happier for it. Disney can tear it all down. I don't care. Universal is where my money is being spent now. And then Egg663 says, to answer the question, no, we shouldn't be furious. No one supported Rivers of America, the Riverboat, or the Tom Sawyer's Island. And so people were still going. I think more people were going than we think were going to those things. But at the same time, like I went to Disneyland, I think it was March of this year, it was March, and getting onto the raft to Tom Sawyer's Island was crowded. I feel like theirs is better. I'm just going to put that out there too. I feel like the Tom Sawyer's Island is better over there. There's something pretty special about the Pirate's Lair stuff. But there is some capacity taken up for this. But once these things are built, I'm sure, Rob, to your point, that they're going to be something that, as long as they're high capacity attractions and as long as they work, they're going to eat up a lot of people along the way. So I'm good about that. So anyway, I wanted to kind of share that information from our pack and say thank you guys for being members of our pack, and we appreciate you. Anything else that we want to talk about before we do final judgment on this one? I'm going to go to each of you for final thoughts before we get to final judgment on it. Shannon, anything?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay, Rob, did anything from your notes?
Nope, I think we're good. We covered it all.
Okay, good. All right. Well, before we get into our final vote here, I do want to thank everybody for being with us here tonight on the Park Adventurers Club. I want to talk about a little bit about what's coming up. I made this pretty little calendar. You like that? Everybody say, ooh. All right.
Ooh,
so for June, This is tonight. It's June 8th. This is where we are. This is the Park Adventures Club. Wednesday night is going to be Tombstone. That's going to be our Look on the Plus Side review. It's going to be Patrick, myself, and our friend Maleko will all be talking about Tombstone, and we'll be arguing over who is who's Huckleberry. And then on June 13th, Shannon's show comes back, The Happiest Days, and she's going to be talking about a moderate resort. Do we tell them which one, or do we keep that a surprise at this point?
No. It's the element of surprise, Rob.
Element of surprise. Next Sunday night will be the first time since we started doing the show, close to the first time since we started doing the show, that we're not going to have an actual show. I will be in Florida, so I will be doing some live streams from the parks. I will be at Epic on Sunday, which is Father's Day, so just ahead of that, I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day, but we will be in Epic, and hopefully we'll do some live streams all weekend long. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and click that bell for notifications so you can find out. And then Shannon is coming back on June 18th to talk about the third installment of the Pirates. I said, Shannon, 1 or 2? She said, no, we're doing 3. And so we're going to do the third installment at World's End. And then on June 20th, Stephanie's show Castaways, where she talks to previous makers of magic, will be back on. And she has a new guest. I was the first guest. I was very excited about that. But she has a new guest the next time. So we've got a lot of great content here on the Park Adventures Club. We hope that you guys will join us. And a big shout out to all of our pack. We love our pack members. Thank you guys. If you want to be a part of this, you can go to patreon.com/gopack. If you are a member at all, that includes our Discord, and you can see all of the things that we're saying all day long about all things Disney and Universal and theme parks and puppies and all kinds of stuff. We would love to have you there. And some of the higher levels, you get a sticker and a button. Look at that, sticker and a button that you can have that, like you saw in that picture, some of our folks took there. So, Rob, did you get yours yet?
I did. Thank you very much.
Okay, just making sure. So anyway, thank you guys for your support with the channel. We appreciate it. Please come back, watch, hang out, be a part of the community. We are having a lot of fun, and we want you to come along for the ride if you possibly can. But now it's judgment time. It's judgment time. I got to get my judge gavel out. I got to do that. I don't know why. I just have to. So the question before our club members who are here for quorum, and we'll start with Shannon and we'll move down to Rob, is, and I want to be clear about the question so that you can be clear about your answer, is should Disney fans be furious? And Shannon, we'll go to you, yay or nay on this one.
Yeah, that's going to be a no for me, dog. Furious is a really strong word. And I think there's more nostalgic sad feelings, but not in the same with Muppets. Muppets is like, you're furious. Rivers of America, we're now seeing that they're keeping some of the river, some of that aesthetic that people want. So, and we've been really hard on Disney, deservedly so, for probably the last decade. And I just feel like in the last year or two, they've really changed their tune and they've really started listening. And I have a feeling that this is going to be their comeback. Hopefully I do not eat my words on that. So, yeah, strong no. Should not be furious.
Okay. And Rob?
I can't argue with Shannon. This is...
No, you can. You're welcome to argue with Shannon. I would love for you to argue with Shannon.
I can argue with her about Pandora, but I can't argue with her about this one because, progress is hard. Yeah, humans don't like change, and I get that it's part of human nature, but you can't have progress in a park that has a limited amount of space. And I know everyone thinks there's unlimited space, but there's not in terms of buildable land. You can't have progress without losing some of the things that were there previously. I think it's clear that this piece of the park doesn't resonate with the overwhelming majority of the guests coming into it. And as I said before, it's such a prime piece of real estate. Disney just simply cannot afford to not update it and make it be more relevant to their guests. The parks being more crowded than ever, they also can't afford to have a space that doesn't add a significant amount of capacity or doesn't consume a significant number of guests every day. And unfortunately, this part of the park just not. And I know, Robbie, you say that you think that more people use it than we think. but I've made a conscious effort, since they've announced the changes. Every time I've been to the park, I've literally gone through and I can't give you the numbers, but kind of counted how many people were on the boat or how many people were on the island, and it is such a small number, of people, that it just changes had to be made. I also agree that Disney is, in the past they would have just made changes and they would have told us we are lucky that they're making the changes. And I think now there's evidence that they're actually listening to the guests. They're listening to the bloggers, which in some cases, are amplifying our voices as guests, and they're being deliberate, and the changes they're making. And I think they're all going to be super positive. I'm very optimistic about the future of Disney parks.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, if you've done your own formal survey of everything, I can just picture you out there with a team of people going, guys, look, we need to make a count. You got your little clicker. You're going, here's how many people are actually using this. No, I think that's great. I think it feels different at Disney World than Disneyland when you have the riverboat and those things. So, yeah. Shannon, would it change your mind if I gave you some of this?
Hurts. Stop! That's cruel and unusual punishment.
Maybe they're looking for ways to repurpose the boat somewhere. Maybe that's going to stay somewhere.
Well, you know what? You could just make that your alarm on your phone. It'll be fine. So, thank you guys so much for being with us for another Park Adventures Club. This brings our meeting to an end tonight, but hopefully you guys will come back and see us again Wednesday night for a look on the plus side at 9 p.m. Friday night at 8 p.m. for the happiest stays, and then next Sunday we will do live streams, but we don't know when yet because we don't know where we're going to be in the park, and we want to make sure it's something you guys are going to be excited to see. So we're going to play around with live streams all weekend from the parks. If you're in the parks, come see us, come hang out. That'd be great to say hi to everybody. And then 2 weeks from tonight, we'll be back with another Park Adventurers Club. And who knows what we'll be talking about. You won't know till you come and you hang out with us, and we hope you guys will. So thank you, Rob and Shannon, and thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. Don't forget, adventure awaits. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next time.